welcome back to the Real World Garage. Back to the project at hand. I brought the block up and I wanted to start evaluating and showing you a couple things, and we're going to talk about the soak tank that we're going to make, and we're going to show you that too. So let's get over here. Let's get a close look at this block. Alright, one of the things that I noticed around here was the freeze plugs. I had never really taken a good look at them, but this one, pretty corroded. You can see where it's been leaking. This one, somebody has actually installed one of those rubber emergency plugs around, and you can definitely see where that freeze plug has been leaking. So, which I have a freeze plug kit, and all of those are going to have to come out before we hot tank it. And get the cam bearings out and all the other engine bearings. The galley plugs for the camshaft, we'll have to remove those. It's freeze plugs on one end, and it's actually pipe plugs on the other. So we'll get those out before we hot tank it. Alright, well, we have our drum, and we took a few measurements. The absolute width of the small block Ford engine was 17 inches. The width across the drum is more than adequate. The width across the drum is 22. And the length of the engine block is like 21. So I probably could sit the engine block down in there width-wise and be able to have a shorter tank and be able to use less chemical in order to cover it. But we also have a small block Chevrolet, which I did some measurements on, and I don't think that it will fit width-wise. Small block Chevrolet will not fit in there that way, and will have to actually be stood on end, and it is right at 22 or so inches, which is where I had planned on cutting the drum, right along in here. So as a compromise and be able to use this tank again for more than one project, I am actually going to cut it here, and I'm going to cut top along this line. I've already gone and put a piece of tape on here, and I'm going to cut this drum off and be able to use it hopefully as a lid to sit down on top of the tank, just to keep other stuff out of it. So we're going to get into it and get to cutting. Alright, well, this is day 2 on our hot tank, a homemade hot tank, and we're going to get into and show you what we have done. I went ahead off camera, you saw me do that little quick time lapse where I cut this lid off. I came in with my flap wheel and I knocked some of all the jagged edges off, and I did the same on the tank itself, so I don't have to worry about being cut. Got it all smoothed out, and I was able to trim it and make it a little nicer. It's not as jagged as it was. Now I have this element, which is, let me grab the package and I'll show you. This is a universal heating element for a water heater. Of course, 120 volts, 1500 watts element. Okay, so when I was looking at my tank, I looked at the other gentleman's video and I saw how he did it, and it kind of made me nervous. Okay, so everything I'm about to tell you and show you in this about this heating element, okay, this is for instructional. It's well, not for instructional. This is not for instructional. This is what I'm doing. You do what you do at your own risk. Okay, there are only 2 connections here. And there's no place to put a ground, but I'm going to clean a spot and I'm going to put a ground to this tank. So in case anything happens to this element and it shorts, that it is somewhat safe. I do not recommend getting around the tank when it's plugged up. I do not recommend messing with the tank when it's plugged up. When this thing's cooking, leave it alone and don't let anybody get around it. You check it, unplug it, put on some gloves, lift the lid, do what you got to do. Now, what I did was I have a large step bit. Generally on these drums you have a large hole and a small hole. So of course I took the small hole out thinking, well, maybe that'll go down in there. No, it will not. So I have a large step bit and I was able to drill that hole out, and the threaded portion came out, and then I was able to open the hole even more, and it will now slide down in there. So what I'm going to do is, that should be just pipe thread, is I'm going to go to the hardware store and find either a coupler or something where I can screw on there and attach that firmly to the lid. Then I'm going to take and hook an electrical cord to it, and I'm going to ground to the top, and then I'm going to seal this with silicone so it can't get wet and it can't come, and nobody can come into contact with it. And I may even try to come up with some kind of cap to put over the top of it to even further protect it. So that's where we are on the hot tank. We're fixing to move into preparation for the block, get the cam bearings out, and start getting it cleaned up. Doing a little pre-cleaning before we put it in the soak tank. So y'all come on. As you saw earlier, we brought the block up here. We have it set on our workbench, and we've got to do some prep work to get it ready to put in the soak tank. We've got the cam bearing installation and removal tool ready to go. We've got to get the cam shaft out of it. We've got some other bearings to get out of it, of course the freeze plugs to get out of it, and we've got some light scraping and cleaning to do prior to actually putting it in the soak tank. That way it doesn't just totally muck up everything, the solution that I'm going to have in the soak tank. There's a couple different solutions that I'm looking at using. My dad told me about a solution that you can use with molasses and water, and it's really cheap. And I'm also looking at using just a commercial grade degreaser with some Dawn dish soap. So we're going to do a little weighing in on that and do a little more research and decide which way we're going to go. I'm kind of wanting to lean towards the molasses just because it's cheap, and like we like to do things here in the Real World Garage, we like to save money, and we like to do things that are a little bit not quite like everybody else does it, and they work. So let's get reset up, get you a little closer, and we'll get this cam bearing tool set up, and we'll start driving out some cam bearings after we get the cam pulled out. Alright, well, I hope the fan's not driving y'all crazy. It is a little bit hot out here in the shop, so we have a fan going. But let's got the cam retainer removed from the front of the engine. It goes right here, bolts on and helps hold the cam in place. Let's see if we can scooch this cam forward. Whoop, there it went, just a little bit. And when you're dealing with new bearings, you definitely want to be careful. I'm not so worried about these old bearings. Just give it a little twist and pull. With the bottom end of the motor open like this, it makes it a lot easier. I can just reach down in there and help guide it. Now we got the camshaft out. Let's set it over here to the side. Should be safe right there. Keep from rolling off, hitting the floor, and shattering into 1,600 pieces. Alright, well I did some reading on this cam tool because, as I told you before, it has been a long time since I used a cam removal and installation tool. So I read the instructions. Whoa, imagine that, reading the instructions. And I'm pretty sure I'm confident in how it sets up. Let's check, see if this is pretty. This looks like it's going to be a little bit too small. Let's measure. Let's see what these bearings come out at. They should be right at 2 inches. 2.1 is what that says. And the instructions specify that if cam bearings are in a range from 1.925 to 2.150, that we should use expander number 3. And this is expander number 3. You can make that out or not, but it does have number 3 written on top of it, stamped in place. We are going with what they say. Let's see if we can put it together. Line your little marks up. Line your hashes up. Slide it together. There we go. Come on. Alright. See how that's all lined up? All your hash marks. And you're supposed to use the large drive washer. Alright. Expander tool put in place. I need to get a wrench because we have to expand that until it fits. It's not exactly right either, but I think it'll do for what we want. Alright, put the tool in place. Begin to squeeze and expand. Till we have it in the bearing. Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's see what happens. Like socks on a rooster. Boom, she come out. Alright. Turn it out the way. Lift the cam bearing up. There we go. That's one. Hand snug. Wrench out of the way. Slide up the centering collar. Hold up against it to keep it center. Oh, there we go. Alright, let's lift her out and take a peek at her. I don't know that there's any date codes on these bearings, but when I get a minute to clean them up, I'll take a look and see. Moving on down the line. Let's see if I can bump that the plug out of the back. There it went. That's the end cam. That's the cam plug in. I don't know if that comes in the freeze plug kit. If it doesn't, I'll order one. It's not a big deal. Gotta have it. So let's get this last bearing. All right, last one. There we go. Last bearing out. Something of note that I wanted to bring to your attention, and I was aware that cam bearings were different sizes in relation to the block and in order to get the camshaft in and out. But what I did not realize is that when you order a set of cam bearings, they actually have the position located on the top of the box. And the part number, as you can see, is also plainly listed on top of the box. So you should make sure you pay attention to where you're putting your cam bearings, or your camshaft will not fit, or you will destroy bearings trying to put them back in, or a combination of all of the above. So that's your tech tip for the day on cam bearings. Okay, well, as you saw, we put the cam bearings out. We used the lisle 18,000 is the part number. Like falling off a log. This tool worked perfectly, had no issues with it at all. Just read the instructions, did a little measuring, found out what cam bearings I have, and the cam bearings came right out of this block. So now we are on to, we've got a lot of cleaning to do on this block. We're going to go ahead and we got a lot of cleaning to do on the heads and to get it ready to go in the soak tank. I don't want to put it in the soak tank with as much dirt and grime as we have on it, and we also got some freeze plugs we need to knock out of it. So we're going to be doing that, and until next time, why don't you watch another one of my videos coming on screen right now.